Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakter Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopal Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah Namo Pankajanabhaya Namo Pankajamalini Namo Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangraye. Hare Krishna. So welcome all of you all for our Srimad Bhagavatam series. So today we are going to discuss Canto 1, Chapter 16 called How Parikshit Maharaj Received the Age of Kali. So we saw in Chapter 15, this is a quick recap of Chapter 15. So the name of Chapter 15 was The Pandavas Retire Timely. So in that chapter we saw how when Arjuna comes back from Dwarka, Arjuna is feeling a lot of deep separation from Lord Krishna, and Arjuna is recalling all the favors that Lord Krishna has done upon him. And Arjuna, as an ideal devotee, he understands and realizes that all the success that he has had in his life, it's all because of Krishna's mercy. That was the mood that Arjuna is teaching all of us. And then Arjuna, because at this point he feels deep separation from Krishna, he feels that his entire world is just hollow, just void. And at that time, Arjuna, in separation from Krishna, now the physical form of Krishna is no longer there, Arjuna takes shelter of the message of Bhagavad Gita that he had heard from Lord Krishna. And then Arjuna feels a little more pacified. And when Yudhishthir hears from Arjuna the confirmed news that Lord Krishna has finally departed from this world, Yudhishthir also decides to retire. And we saw that section how Yudhishthir at once just gives up that kingdom. He dressed himself like a madman, practically no dress, dressed himself like a madman, and he just went to the Himalayas. And following the footsteps of Yudhishthir, the Pandavas, Draupadi, Vidura, Kunti, all of them leave. So practically one whole generation is gone. And before Yudhishthir leaves, what does Yudhishthir do? He makes Parikshit the king of Hastinapur. So from this chapter that we are going to start today, chapter 16, 17, 18, 19, the next 4 chapters is about Parikshit. So this particular chapter shows how Parikshit received the age of Kali. So this chapter has in total 36 verses. The first few verses speaks about how Parikshit was an ideal ruler and he decided to punish Kali. So Shaunaka Rishi, they asked a question to Sutta Goswami, why did Parikshit not kill Kali but protect Kali? Punish Kali but did not kill Kali? That was the question. And in answer to that, Sutta Goswami describes the movement of Parikshit. And then he comes to a very beautiful section that we will see in this chapter, which is like the major portion of this chapter. Discussion between Dharma and Dharani. That means a cow and a bull are discussing. The cow represents Mother Earth and the bull represents Dharma. So Earth and Dharma, they are conversing with each other. Beautiful set of conversation at the start of Kali Yuga. So that's how this chapter progresses. So let's begin this chapter without further delay. Text 1. सुत उवाच ततः परीक्षित द्विजवर्य शिक्षया महिं महाभागवत शशासः यथा हि सुत्याम् अभिज्ञात कोविद समादिशन् विप्र महद्गुणस्तथा. So Sutta Goswami begins to explain that how Maharaj Parikshit began to rule the world Dvijavarya Shikshaya based on the instructions of the Brahmanas. So this is how previously in the land of India administration would be governed by the kings. Dvijavarya Shikshaya, they would be dependent on the instructions of the Brahmanas. And then here it says Maharaj Parikshit is Mahim Mahabhagavata. He is himself a great devotee of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada, you will see in this particular chapter, the next chapter, which speaks about the ideal rule of King Parikshit, how everyone was perfectly happy in the rule of King Parikshit. One of the things that we can very clearly see here, and Srila Prabhupada stresses so much, that a king also has to be a devotee of Krishna. So ultimately a king, he is a representative of God, and he has to rule the world based on the instructions of Krishna. Therefore Lord Krishna in the 4th chapter of Gita, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, Imam Raja Deshayo Vidu. Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, this knowledge of Gita that I am giving you was been given to the kings, Raja Rishis. And Srila Prabhupada explains why, because once the king is a devotee, he follows by the will of Krishna, then automatically the citizens also follow suit. So in this way, King Parikshit, as the astrologers are predicted, if you remember the 14th chapter, one of the chapters before is when Parikshit was born, that time all the astrologers are given an astrology, the prediction. Yudhishthir was very eager to know what kind of child this will be, whether he will be a devotee, and then given a list of qualities. If you remember that section, they had said that this boy will be like Lord Ram, he will be like King Rantidev, and so many things. So King Parikshit, as it was predicted, he ruled the world like that. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, the real qualification, we saw this in the previous chapter also, when it was explained that King Yudhishthir enthroned Parikshit as the king because he was perfectly trained. And Prabhupada mentions what is real training, what is real education. Someone should become a devotee of Krishna. So Prabhupada writes here, the real qualification is to become a devotee of the Lord. And gradually all good qualities will develop slowly. Yashasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarver gunes tatra samasate sura harava bhaktasya kuto mahat guna manorati nasti dhavato vahi. This is the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, where Brahmaji is saying, this is the prayer of Lord Brahma. He says, anyone who is a devotee of Krishna, sarve gunas tatra samasate sura, all good qualities of demigods come in such a person. So Prabhupada mentions here, this is the only training that is needed, being a devotee. And King Parikshit, he ruled based on the advice of the Brahmanas. And Prabhupada mentions, previously Brahmanas were the ministers. They would give consultation, they would give suggestions. And these Brahmanas were not paid. They wouldn't take any salary. We all know the story of the last Brahmana that Srila Prabhupada speaks about, the last minister in the land of India, Chanakya. He was a great minister, but he didn't take any salary. As soon as you take salary, you can't speak the truth. Right? So the Brahmanas wouldn't take any salary. So in this way, an ideal king who follows the rules of the Kshatriya Dharma, along with the ideal ministers who are Brahmanas, in this way, the kingdom can be very, very peaceful. So Parikshit perfectly followed the qualities of a Rajya Rishi. Text 2. Sa uttarasya tanaya upayema iravatim janme jaya yadim chaturas tasyam utpadayat sutam. So King Parikshit, he married the daughter of King Uttar Kumar, and he begot 4 sons, and the eldest was Maharaj Janmejaya. So Prabhupada explains in the purport. So we all know who is the mother of King Parikshit? Uttara. Uttara is the mother. So Uttara had a brother called Uttar Kumar, ya Uttara. So Parikshit was married to the daughter of King Uttar Kumar. So in one sense, maternal cousin. And Prabhupada mentions that cousin brothers and sisters can get married provided they are not in the same gotra. And we find many places like that. We have the incident of Arjuna marrying Subhadra. So Subhadra and Arjuna also like related, like far cousins basically. So that system is there. So Prabhupada mentions a little about Maharaj Janmejaya. After King Parikshit, his son, the eldest son was Maharaj Janmejaya. So Maharaj Janmejaya, he had 3 more brothers that is mentioned here. Shrutasena, Ugrasena and Bhimsena too. So one time we all know that when Parikshit was cursed that he would die in 7 days, and how was Parikshit about to die? A snake bird, Takshaka, was supposed to come and bite him. And after Parikshit Maharaj left his body, the son Janmejaya became very, very angry, and he wanted to take revenge against all the snakes. So he did a Sarpa Yagya. And what was the idea of Sarpa Yagya? The success of the Sarpa Yagya was all the Sarpas of the world would get attracted and they would enter into the fire and die. And practically, because he wanted to take revenge not only against Taksha but the whole race of serpents. So he had so much anger, so much revenge he had. So that time all the demigods and sages, they come and tell Janmejaya, please stop this is not good. And Janmejaya stops it. But in that sacrifice, so many Brahmanas had come, Janmejaya sufficiently awards all of them. So this is a little history that Prabhupada mentions about Janmejaya. And to Maharaj Janmejaya, Vyasdev, first time he narrated Mahabharata. Vyasdev had written Mahabharata, but Janmejaya didn't see Mahabharata, so Vyasdev narrated the whole Mahabharata to Maharaj Janmejaya. So this is a little history of Maharaj Janmejaya. Text 3. Ajaharashvamedham strin Gangayam bhuri dakshinam Saravatam gurun kritva Deva yatrakshi gochara Sharadatvam gurun kritva. So Parikshit selected Kripacharya as his guru, and under the guidance of Kripacharya, Ashwamedham strin, he did 3 Ashwamedha Yagya. Gangayam Bhuri Dakshidam, on the banks of Ganga. And after doing the 3 Ashwamedha Yagya, he rewarded all the Brahmanas present there. And in his Yagya, Deva Yatrakshi Gochara. His Yagya was so successful and Parikshit was so famous, all the demigods also came there and common people could see the demigods. So Srila Prabhupada explains that up till the time of Maharaj Parikshit, interplanetary travel was there and common people could also see demigods. And Prabhupada mentioned just like Krishna is there, but only those who have the grace of Krishna can see Krishna. So similarly, Brahma, Shiva and all these demigods are there, on whom the grace of these demigods are there, such people can see them. So in this way, Parikshit performed 3 Ashwamedha Yagyas for the benefit of people in general. Prabhupada mentions one very important point towards the end. So Prabhupada mentions that even a great king like Maharaj Parikshit, even though he is described as Mahabhagavat, even though he has seen Krishna in the womb, still Parikshit accepted a guru. So Prabhupada is mentioning this point that everyone must take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. This is the system. Text 4. Nijagraha avajasa vira Kalim digvijaye kvachit Kripalinga dharam shudram Granantam gomitunam pada. So once when Maharaj Parikshit was out to conquer the world, Digvijaye kvachit. Digvijaya means conquer the world in the 10 directions. So the kings of previous times were just not comfortable in their zone, they would try to go out also. And when he was doing this tour around the world, what did he see? He saw Nripalinga Dharam Shudra. So he saw a Shudra, a very low class man, disguised as a king. And what he was doing, Dhanantam Go Mitunam Padha. And this Shudra, Kali, in the form of the Shudra, was hurting the legs of a cow and a bull. And the king Parikshit at once caught the Shudra and he was ready to punish him. So Prabhupada mentions in the purport, King Parikshit was already the emperor of the entire world. What was the need for him to go out and conquer? So Prabhupada mentions here, King Parikshit was going out not for show off, but he was going out to see that all people are following the principle of dharma. That's the role of a king, to go around and see that everyone is following. And what did Parikshit see when he saw that a bull and a cow is being injured? One bull and one cow. Parikshit got very, very agitated. The Prabhupada mentions that you can imagine in today's world what kind of atrocities is happening to the cows and bulls. So Prabhupada mentions Kali means the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. And where does this quarrel and hypocrisy start? Prabhupada mentions when the kings don't carry out their duties. And what is the most important duty of the king? To protect the cows and the bulls. This is what King Parikshit was doing. We saw in the previous chapters also. The word king, Raja, his duty is to protect the praja. And what is the meaning of praja that Srila Prabhupada gives? Anyone remembers? Praja means anyone born in that land is praja. And Prabhupada mentions that praja is just not human beings. Anyone born in that land, the king is responsible to give them protection. Animals, plants, practically birds, everyone. So King Parikshit was very, very perfect and he wanted to stop this quarrel at the root. And Prabhupada mentions the root cause of all problems is when we commit cruelty, especially to cows and bulls, that cruelty, that pain comes back to human beings. Text 5. So when Sutta Goswami is explained like this, Shaunakadi Rishi, they have a question. Their question is, Shaunaka Uvacha Kasya Hetor Nijagraha Kalim Digvaje Nripa Niradeva Chinna Drikshudra Koso Gamya Padahanat Tatkatayatam Mahabhaga Yadi Krishna Katashrayam. So Shaunak Rishi, after hearing this, they have a question. Why did King Parikshit only punish the Shudra? He should have killed him. He was hurting the cows and bulls. Why didn't he kill him? He just punished him. Like this their question is. And they are asking, please describe these details. Yat tat kataya mahabhaga yadi Krishna katashrayam. So please describe the story if it is in relation with Krishna. Yadi Krishna katashrayam. So Prabhupada explains in the purport, the same thing Prabhupada mentions here. In those days, 5,000 years before when this story is happening here, the sadhus were so shocked that one cow and bull is getting hurt. They couldn't just handle that news. So Prabhupada explains, now you can imagine the kind of atrocities that is happening to the cows and bulls on a mass scale. On a mass scale. It's so painful, that people have just taken this for granted. And then Prabhupada mentions here, Bhagavatam has many, many topics. We are seeing sociology, politics, we are seeing so many things. But the beauty of Bhagavatam is everything is in relationship with Krishna. Yadi Krishna Katashrayam. And Prabhupada mentions that whatever the topic is, if Krishna is there, then the topic is pure. Krishna is a purifying agent. And if Krishna is not present, then the topic is worthless to hear. So this is a very beautiful mood that we are supposed to hear things only if there is a relationship with Krishna. If it is not, we are not bothered. So that is the beauty of the scripture, Bhagavatam. Only stories, itihasas that are in relation to Krishna are mentioned in this book. So in this way, they are very, very eager to hear about this topic if it's a relationship with Krishna. Text 6. Atamasya padamboja makaranda liham satam kim anyer asat alape ayusha yat asatyaya. So it says Atavashya padamboja makaranda liham satam. So those pure devotees, what is the characteristics of devotees? The devotees are accustomed, they are used to, they are addicted to licking honey that is coming from the lotus feet of Krishna. Makaranda liham. Makaranda is honey coming from a lotus flower. And Krishna's feet are compared to a lotus flower. So that means, who's a devotee? A devotee is only concerned with hearing about Krishna, because that is the real nectar. And then they say, Kim anyet asat alape ayusha yat asatyaya. Any other topics that we hear which is not in relationship with Krishna is simply a waste of time. Shrama evahi kevalam. Human life is very, very valuable. Every moment in human life is very, very valuable. If we waste it in hearing so many other things, we have seen in the 4th chapter of this particular canto, Narad Muni is chastising Vyasdev. What to speak of other scriptures? Narad Muni is telling Vyasdev, even scriptures, Vedas, sections of Vedas that have no connection with Krishna, Narad Muni is saying even that is a waste of time. What to speak of other subject matter of sense gratification? So this is how these devotees are so eager to hear only something about Krishna. And they are also teaching us that this is the level of conviction that we are supposed to come to. So Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport, see, they are eager, even though they mention Krishna Katha, Makaranda Liham Satam, but what they are going to hear is the story of King Parikshit. So Prabhupada mentions Krishna Katha and topics related to Krishna's devotees both are the same. Right? So when you hear Krishna Katha means Krishna and his devotees. So now while we hear the topic of Parikshit, because Parikshit is a great devotee of Krishna, that is also considered to be Krishna Katha. So in this way, Prabhupada mentions here that life in this world is very, very temporary. So it's very important that we always hear something related to Krishna. Prabhupada mentions also one very interesting point. Krishna's feet are compared to a lotus flower. Right? Why is Krishna's feet compared to a lotus flower? Because lotus flower is something that's very soft, right? Something that is very soothing. So in this world, we are all looking for shelter, something that is, that can give us hope and peace in this world. Krishna's lotus feet are that. Krishna's lotus feet is like a lotus flower that can give us great happiness. Prabhupada also mentions another very interesting point. Prabhupada mentions Krishna is there in the spiritual world. Lord Krishna's spiritual world is called what? Golok Vrindavan. And Golok Vrindavan is in the shape of what? Anyone knows? It's in the shape of a lotus flower. So Krishna's feet is always on the spiritual world, on the lotus flower. When Krishna comes to this world, Krishna brings that spiritual world to this world. And here in this world also, Krishna's feet is always connected to that spiritual world. So therefore, Krishna's feet is compared to a lotus flower. So in this way, they are saying, what is the use of wasting valuable human time in topics other than those related to Krishna? We see in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram. At the end of life, one who remembers me comes back to me. And Prabhupada mentions there that if you want to remember Krishna at the end of life, we have to practice it throughout our life. So that's the mood. Text 7. Shudra ayusham nrinamanga martyana mritam ichchatam yohopa bhuta bhagavan mrityur mitra karmani. So Shaunakadi Rishi, they are telling Sutta Goswami, O Sutta Goswami, those who want to achieve freedom from death, Mrityanam Mritam Ichchatam, one who wants to achieve freedom from Mrityu, what is the only solution? The solution is to hear about Krishna. When you hear about Krishna, you escape the slaughtering process of death. So Prabhupada mentions here, Mrityu Shamitra Karmani. Shamitra Karmani matlab, it's a suppressing process. So at the time of death, practically everyone is slaughtered. So Prabhupada mentions, everyone in this world wants to become eternal. The scientists are doing their own research, how one can become eternal. But the only hope to escape the slaughtering process is to hear and chant about Krishna. Why? Because Prabhupada mentions that when we chant about Krishna, Yamaraj also comes and sits there. So the Shaunakadi Rishi, when they started this Bhagavad Saptah, when they started this whole session of Bhagavatam, they gave a seat to Yamaraj also. So now if Yamaraj is sitting in your class, sitting in Bhagavatam, then there is nothing to worry about him. So Prabhupada mentions here, the only hope of suspending the cruel slaughtering process of Yamaraj is to call him and hear and chant the holy name of the Lord. Yamaraj is a great devotee of the Lord, and he likes to be invited for kirtan and sacrifices of pure devotees. So Yamaraj ji has two roles. He has to do that role of a judge, give punishment. But Yamaraj ji in his heart is a devotee. So Yamaraj ji loves to come here. And because the sages of Naimesharanya invited Yamaraj ji here, they were like completely free from this fear of death. And in continuation to this verse, in the next verse, text 8, they explain, Na kaschin mriyate tavat yavatasta ihankata etat artam hi bhagavan ahuta paramarshibhi bahona loke piyeta hari leelamritam vacha. So the word yavat tavat, as long as, till then basically. So they say, as long as Yamaraj, who kills everyone, is present here with us, there is no fear of death. So therefore they offered a seat to Yamaraj. And they say, anyone who wants to become free from the cycle of birth and death, what is the only solution? Hari Leela Mritam Vacha. The only solution is nectar. See, there are these two words, Mritaha refers to death, and the opposite of Mritaha is Amritaha, deathlessness, right? Eternity. So here they say, Hari Leela Mritam Vacha. So the only eternal thing, the only nectar that can counteract Mrita is Amrita. And what is this Amrita? It refers to Hari Leela Amrita. So therefore, we can escape this cycle of birth and death by hearing more and more about Krishna. Therefore, we will see towards the end of this canto, Parikshit, when he is cursed that he will die in 7 days, what does Parikshit do? Hari Leela Mritam Vachaha. Parikshit is only absorbing the nectar of Krishna Katha. So that's what they say. And in text 9, they explain, Mandasya Manda Pragyasya Vayo Manda Yushascha Vai Nidraya Hriyate Nattam Divacha Vyartha Karmabhi. Srila Prabhupada gave a lot of classes on this verse. So this verse says, practically it sums up the life of people of Kali Yuga. What's the life of people of Kali Yuga without Krishna? What is life without Krishna? Without Krishna consciousness, one word sums it up. Mandasya. People in this age are very, very lazy. Mandasya. Right? I usually tell the story. One time there were two friends. Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur tells the story. One time there were two friends. And these two friends were the most laziest people. They were so lazy, one time their house caught fire. And both of them are sleeping. And they're not even opening their eyes. Too lazy to open their eyes. Have you seen someone like that? Lazy to open even eyes. So one guy is asking the other guy, BB. BB matlab back burning, he's telling the other guy. So lazy, they don't want to waste human energy in speaking, BB. And the other guy says CS, change side. So that fellow is also one step lazier. And in this way, both of them burn and die. They are doing BBCS, but they are not opening their eyes and running out. So Prabhupada explains here, Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada's guru, tells the story. In this world, the entire world is on fire. Samsara Dava, there is misery everywhere. Instead of escaping and going back to the spiritual world, what we are doing, BBCS, we are doing this. But chant Hare Krishna, no one is doing. That's the problem. So the first characteristic of people of Kali Yuga is mandasya. People are very, very lazy for spiritual life. Manda pragyasya. And their intelligence is also very, very low. Very low. They don't have high intelligence to understand the scriptures, to understand something. Very less intelligence. Vayo manda yushachavai. First of all, lazy. Lazy intelligence. Yeah, very less intelligent for spiritual subject matters. And then their life is also very, very short. Very short life. Manda ayusha, alpa ayusha, very, very short life. And in this short life, what they do? They waste day after day in what? Nidraya riyate nattam. The night goes in sleep. And divacha vyartha karmabi. And the day goes in useless activities. Bas. First of all, time is less. And that short time, night is wasted in sleep and day is wasted in useless. Vyartha karmavi. So Prabhupada explains here, real intelligence is to know how to use the human form of life. If you are not able to use the human form of life, which is Krishna's most important gift, then our life is completely a waste. So in this way, people of Kali Yuga, they waste day after day in useless things, petty things. People have time to watch so many debates and do so many things, but you tell them to come to a satsang and hear something spiritual, practically no sense of interest. So that's the irony of the people of Kali Yuga. So in this way, you see Sutta Goswami is a great soul who's speaking the subject matter. Even the sages who are hearing this, these are the sages, Shaunaka Rishi, their level is also so high. So when you have someone who's a very sincere speaker, a bona fide speaker, and you have students who are very, very sincere, that combination is actually the best combination. So in this way, the sages of Naimisharanya, they basically ask Sutta Goswami to explain the subject matter of Parikshit a little more in detail. So from text 10, Sutta Goswami starts this subject. Sutta Uvacha Yada Parikshit Guru Jangale Vasar Kalim Pravishtam Nija Chakravartite Vishamya Vartam Anati Priyam Tata Sharasanam Samyuga Shodir Adade. So, Sutta Goswami explains, while Maharaj Parikshit was residing in this capital of the Kuru Empire, he started to see that the symptoms of Kali have started to enter into his kingdom. Kalim Pravishtam Nija Chakravartite. So Kali Yuga had slowly started to infiltrate into the kingdom. When he learned about this, he was not very happy. He was not very happy to hear about this. So this is a genuine sadhu, a genuine king, a devotee, who is not happy to see the symptoms of Kali Yuga come. So he thought this was not a very palatable news. But because he is a Kshatriya, and Kshatriyas love to fight. So Prabhupada explains here, just like a sportsman loves a game, right? Similarly, Kshatriya have that fighting spirit. In this kingdom, practically there was nothing to conquer because he had conquered everywhere. But when he heard that Kali had entered, he decided, let me show my Kshatriya power and subjugate Kali. So he took his bow and arrow and went out with his army. So Prabhupada mentions symptoms of Kali Yuga. You will see this in this chapter and the next chapter. Prabhupada mentions again and again illicit connection with women, meat eating, intoxication, gambling. And Prabhupada mentions these are the causes of quarrel. Kali basically means kalaha. And the cause of kalaha is basically these things. So Prabhupada mentions here, in the time of Parikshit, these things were unknown to people. And when Parikshit saw the first glimpses of this, he was thinking, what has happened to society? Now you can imagine, if Parikshit was here, probably, he would get like a heart attack seeing all the things that are happening now. Right? So that's how Kali Yuga is. So someone may say, Prabhupada raises a very interesting question. The Kali Yuga had already started. We saw when Lord Krishna leaves the planet, Kali Yuga had already started. Now the question is, Kali Yuga has already started. Why is Parikshit trying to fight Kali Yuga? Can he completely put off Kali Yuga? Can he do that? Kali Yuga has already started. So the argument someone gives is, why to fight when the age has already come? So Prabhupada says this is the argument of lazy people. We are supposed to do our duty. We are supposed to push Kali as much as possible. And Prabhupada gives a simple example. In the rainy season, rain is predestined. Rain will come in rainy season. But you take your precautions right. So similarly in Kali Yuga, all these things will be there. Still we have to take our precautions and we have to do our duty of pushing Kali Yuga as much as possible. Text 11. Swa alankritam shyama turanga yojitam Ratam mrigendra dvajam ashrita pura Vrato ratashva dvipatati yuktaya Swasenaya digvijayaya nirgata. So Parikshit sat on his chariot, Swa alankritam, well decorated chariot, drawn by horses which were black in color. Srila Prabhupada mentions that this is the difference between Parikshit's chariot and Arjuna's chariot, his grandfather's chariot. Arjuna's chariot is Shweta Hayer Yukter, you find in Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna's horses were white in color. Parikshit's horses were black in color. And Arjuna had a Kapit Dvaja. He had a flag in which Hanumanji was there. And Parikshit has Mrigendra Dvijam. He had a flag in which lion symbol was there. And Parikshit decorated his chariot, and along with his soldiers, elephants, he left the capital to conquer all directions. Which are the directions he went? Text 12. Bhadrashvam ketumalam cha Bharatam chottaran kurun Kim purushadini varshani Vijitya jagre balim. This is a little idea of Vedic geography. So we called what we know as Earth is just one part of Bhumandal. So if you find, we are in the first canto of Bhagavatam, the cantos ahead you will have Vedic cosmology coming. Right? So you have Bhumandal, the earthly realm. And in this Bhumandal there are many islands. So basically there are 7 islands surrounded by different oceans. And in between is Jambu Dweepa. And in the Jambu Dweep there are many other Varshas basically. And Bharat Varsha is one of the Varshas. So Parikshit, when we say that Yudhishthira, Parikshit, they were the rulers of Bharat Varsha, it was just not the earthly realm. It was beyond this also, to different places. So Parikshit conquered different parts. What were the different parts? Bhadrashva, Ketumala, Bharata, Uttara Kuru, Northern Kuru, Kim Purusha, etc. And Prabhupada gives a little idea of these Varshas, these places. So Prabhupada says, Bhadra Varsha is a tract of land near Meru Parvata. So basically how the cosmology, Vedic cosmology is, in this every universe, Brahmand, in the central part there is a Parvat called Meru, Sumeru Parvat. Right? Just like in our body we have a spinal cord, which is like the most important thing. So similarly in this Brahman there is a Meru Parvat, Meru Danda. Right? Sometimes the spinal cord is also called a Meru Danda. That's like a huge mountain. And surrounding that there are different Varshas. So Prabhupada says, near Meru Parvat, from Gandhamadhan Parvat to the salt ocean is a place called Bhadravasha, which is explained in Mahabharata in detail. So Maharaj Parikshit conquered that land. Then Prabhupada mentions about Ketumala. And as I told you, the Bhumandal is divided into 7 Dweepa with different oceans. The central Dweepa is called Jambu Dweepa. If you have sat for any yagya, you will have the Brahman chant, Jambu Dweepe, Bharata Varshe, like that. So Jambu Dweepa, that's the Dweepa. And this Jambu Dweepa is divided into 9 Varshas, one of which is Bharata Varsha, only one. Right? Bharata Varsha is one of the 9 Varshas. The other one Varsha is called Ketumal Varsha. And Prabhupada mentions in this Ketumal Varsha, the women are very, very beautiful. So basically these are like subterranean heavens. Before heavens, these are like subterranean, little better heavens than the earth. Like that. And then the next Varsha Prabhupada mentions is about Bharata Varsha, which is one of the 9 Varshas of Jambudvipa. And then Prabhupada mentions about Uttara Kuru. What is this Uttara Kuru? Prabhupada says the northernmost portion of Jambu Dvipa is called Uttara Kuru Varsha, and it's divided between Shringavan mountain and Hiranyamaya Varsha. So basically, Jambu Dvip, around it there are different mountains which divide these Varshas into different parts. So Vedic cosmology is explained very much in detail. And then there is a Varsha called Kim Purusha Varsha, like that. Prabhupada mentioned Shukdev Goswami was born in Kim Purusha Varsha, which is beyond the Himalayas. And then Shukdev Goswami came back from Kim Purusha Varsha to Bharata Varsha. So like this, Parikshit conquered not only Bharata Varsha, but different tracts of land. So that was how powerful he was. Text 13 to 15. Tatra tatro prashanvana स्वपूर्वेषां महात्मनां प्रगीयमानां च यशः कृष्णमाहात्म्यसूचकम् आत्मानां च परित्रान्तम् अश्वात्तां नो अस्त्रतेजस स्नेहं च वृष्णिपार्तानां तेषां भक्तिं च केशवे तेभ्य परमसन्तुष्टा प्रीति ऊर्जिम्बितलोचना महाधनानि वासांसि ददोहारान् महामना. So this is something that's very beautiful. So this is the difference between other books and Bhagavatam, right? In other places, the king will go and conquer different places. That's a common story that you hear everywhere. But here you see the Krishna connection. Wherever, yatra tatro prashanvana, wherever he went, King Parikshit, what he was hearing, swapurvesha mahatmana. Wherever he went, he was hearing everyone glorify his forefathers, the Pandavas. That's what he was hearing everywhere. And how did they glorify? Pragiyamanam cha yashaha Krishna Mahatmya Shuchakam. And because all people were glorifying Pandavas, in that glorification was the glorification of Krishna also. So Parikshit, it was just not going around in the world, it was literally hearing Krishna Katha everywhere. Right? So Parikshit was so happy to hear all the citizens glorify Krishna in this way. And not only that, the people in these places, in all these Varshas, they were glorifying Pandavas, how great devotees they were, how Krishna did so much for them. They were glorifying Parikshit also. And how they were glorifying him? Atma nam cha paritrantam ashwat namno astra tejasa. They were telling King Parikshit, you are so fortunate that Lord Krishna personally entered your womb, entered the womb of your mother to protect you from the weapon of Ashwatthama. In this way, they are glorifying Parikshit also. And this glorification was in connection with Krishna. And they also mentioned about Kunti. Sneham cha vrishni partana tesham bhaktim cha keshave. And they were saying, Parikshit, your grandfathers were such great devotees, you are such a great devotee because Kunti is such a great devotee. Right? All the qualities are coming from her. Tesham bhaktim cha keshave. And Kunti Maharani was such a great devotee of the Lord. Therefore, they were glorifying Kunti's love for Krishna also. And King Parikshit, Tevya Parama Santushta, he became very happy hearing all this. And his eyes became very, very pleased. With great satisfaction he was hearing this. And then he distributed a lot of wealth. Mahadhanani vasamsi dadoharan mahamana. And because Parikshit had a very broad heart, all of them were glorifying Krishna, Parikshit gave a lot of charity of wealth. So Prabhupada mentions in the purport that since time immemorial, this culture of glorifying a great personality is there. Like especially the citizens, they glorify the king. But Prabhupada mentions there is a difference between what happens now and what happens before. Right? Prabhupada mentions that now when you glorify someone, no one really has love for anyone. Right? People want their work done, therefore you glorify. It's all flattery. But here it's not flattery, it was genuine glorification. And we may glorify someone, it's always exaggerated. That person doesn't have something, you glorify so that you can get your work done. But Parikshit also had great qualities. And Prabhupada mentions the third point, the difference between glorification of previous and now. Now you go and glorify someone First of all, it's like flattery from your side. That Lord doesn't have anything. You have to just glorify. And in return, you don't get anything. Do you get anything? In return, you don't get anything. But here, Parikshit would give in return also. So Prabhupada mentions here that in this world, the word here that's mentioned here is Atmanam cha paritrantam. So Prabhupada mentions that in this world there are problems at every step, but when we take shelter of Krishna, Krishna is ready to protect the devotee. That's the essence that is coming out in these verses. How Krishna protected the Pandavas when they went through their own difficulties, how Krishna protected King Parikshit when he went through difficulties. So therefore, when we take shelter of Krishna, Krishna's protection is there. There's this verse in Bhagavatam, Samashrita ye pada pallavaplavam mahat padam punya yasho murare bhava mudir vatsa padam 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 yat vipadham na tesham. So this material world is padam padam yat vipadham na tesham. At every step there is danger. But when someone takes shelter of Krishna, Krishna's lotus feet is like a boat which can help us cross the ocean of difficulties. In this way, they are glorifying Parikshit and the Pandavas. Text 16. Satya Parshada Sevana Sakya Dhotya Virasananu Gamanam Stavanam Pramana Snigdeshu Pandushu Jagat Pranatim Cha Vishnu Bhaktim Karoti Nripatis Charanara Vinde. So as Parikshit was going around, what he was hearing? He was hearing that how Lord Krishna, who is glorified, universally obeyed by everyone, that Lord Krishna, what is he doing? Lord Krishna has become the chariot driver of the Pandavas. Satya. Lord Krishna has become Parshada. We know that in the Rajasuya Yajna, Lord Krishna accepted the post of the president of that place, right? The topmost personality. Krishna started to do service to the Pandavas, Sevana. Krishna became the friend of the Pandavas, Sakya. And Krishna became Dautya, refers to the messenger. Lord Krishna became the peace messenger also. In this way, they are glorifying how Lord Krishna has so much love for the Pandavas. Krishna took every role for the Pandavas. He did the needful. He became a chariot driver, he became a messenger, he became a servant. Viras asanagu gaman stavanam pramanam. So here it says Lord Krishna, he became the night watchman for the Pandavas also. We know that in the Kurukshetra war, when the Pandavas would sleep, Lord Krishna would guard them also. He became the night watchman for them. And Lord Krishna would go and offer respects to the Pandavas. He would glorify King Yudhishthir. Just like here we are seeing, Parikshit is going and the citizens are glorifying. So when Yudhishthir would come, Lord Krishna would also glorify Yudhishthir. So Lord Krishna did all this for the Pandavas. And why did he do this? Snigdeshu Pandushu. Why? Because the Pandavas were malleable to Krishna's will. Because the Pandavas were ready to follow Krishna's will, they were completely surrendered to Krishna. Krishna also completely surrendered to the Pandavas. That's the point Prabhupada is mentioning here. That how when we are surrendered to Krishna, Krishna is also ready to do anything. Where the Pandavas sacrificed so much, Krishna is ready to sacrifice so much for the Pandavas. And when Parikshit was hearing all this glorification of Krishna, Bhaktim Karoti Nripatis Charanara Vinde, Maharaj Parikshit was overwhelmed with devotion to Lord Krishna. He was very, very happy hearing this. So this was the good news in the whole kingdom that most people were devotees of Krishna. But there was one bad news that is coming to Parikshit now very soon. Text 17. Tasyaivam vartamanasya purvesham vrittim anvaham nati dure kilascharyam yadha sintad nibodame. So now Sutta Goswami says, while Parikshit was passing his days like this, hearing about the good occupations of his forefathers about Lord Krishna and being absorbed in his thought, one day this is what happened. Text 18. Dharmaha padakena charan vichayam upalabhyagam Princhati smarshu vadanam vivatsam iva mataram. So while he was wandering like this, checking whether everyone is following the principles of bhakti, that's what the king is supposed to do. While he was going around in his tools, he met a bull. And what was this bull? This bull was Dharma. And this bull Dharma padaikena charan. This bull was standing on one leg. 3 legs were not there. Only one leg is there. Can you see? Can you imagine this? Bull standing on one leg. And Parikshit saw this. And he saw that there was a cow, Vichayan Upalabhya Dham. And there was a cow there whose mother earth. She was in tears. And this is the scene that Parikshit comes across. And now is a conversation between this bull and the cow. Parikshit is hearing this conversation. Dharma, who is this bull, and the cow, which is Dharani, earth, both are conversing. And the cow has tears in her eyes. So the Dharma is questioning the earth as follows. So Prabhupada explains what is the significance of Dharma standing on one leg. So Prabhupada mentioned something interesting in this purport, the next purport. So Prabhupada mentions Dharma has 4 pillars. There are 4 pillars of religion. And what are the 4 pillars? Austerity, truthfulness, cleanliness, and mercy, daya. These are the 4 pillars of Dharma. Daya, kripa, tapasya, satya, and what is the 4th one? Shaucham, cleanliness. These are the 4 pillars. In Satyuga, Dharma is standing on all 4 legs. That means in Satyuga, 100% Dharma. In the next Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dharma reduces to 75%, 25% reduction in Treta Yuga. In Dwapar Yuga, Dharma is reduced by 50%. Only 50% Dharma is left in Dwapar Yuga. And Kali Yuga, Dharma is reduced to only 25%, 3/4 gone. Only one leg Dharma is standing on. And as Kali Yuga progresses, Kali keeps hitting that one leg also of Dharma. So Dharma is in a very painful situation in Kali Yuga. So that's what Prabhupada mentions here. So Prabhupada mentions that in Kali Yuga, your Kali, how does Parikshit see Kali? He's seeing Kali abusing, torturing the cow and bull. And this was just the start of Kali Yuga. And Prabhupada mentions at the present moment, cows and bulls are being slaughtered unlimitedly in an organized way. In a completely organized way. And if cows and bulls are not protected, then Dharma cannot survive. Prabhupada mentions in many places. Brahmanical Dharma, spiritual Dharma, cows and bulls are a must. You can't do any religious activity without the cow and the bull. So now, here is a very beautiful conversation between Dharma and Dharani. Text 19. Dharma uvacha kachit bhadre namayan atmanaste jayasi mlayatesham mukena alakshaye bhavatim antaradhim dure bandhum shochasi kanchanamba. So Dharma, the bull, is asking, my dear madam, my dear mother, Amba, my dear mother, why are you not happy? You appear to be covered with a shadow of grief. Your face has become very black. What has happened to you? I mean, here you see, who's asking this? Dharma is asking the cow. Dharma himself is standing on one leg, but he has the capacity to empathize with the suffering of another. So this is so beautiful. Many times when we are in problem, we are so self-conscious, we don't bother about anyone else. We just don't connect. We are only thinking about us. So when someone is in problem, actually people become quite selfish and self-conscious. They are not thinking about others. Dharma is himself standing on one leg, but he is questioning the suffering of Dharani. He is asking, why are you so sad? Why is your face become black? Are you suffering from antarahadhim? Are you suffering from some internal disease that's not diagnosed? Or dure bandum chochashi kanchanamba? Or are you thinking of some relative who's in a distant place? Prabhupada mentions these questions have an answer also. Within the questions there's an answer. And this is how the Kali Yuga is characterized by. The first thing Prabhupada is mentioning here, in Kali Yuga, everyone is in sorrow. Face is the index of the mind. So Prabhupada says in Kali Yuga, everyone is in sorrow. Everyone is disturbed. Someone had a t-shirt. In his t-shirt was written, do not disturb me, I'm already disturbed. So Kali Yuga people are already disturbed. What you can disturb them further? And everyone is having some internal disease. And many of the diseases the doctors are not able to diagnose. There's an internal disease that's going on. And Prabhupada mentioned something very interesting. In Kali Yuga, everyone is thinking about a relative who is far away. And Prabhupada mentions for livelihood, the father has to go away from son, the wife has to go away from husband, and they meet once a while. That's all. Prabhupada mentions one very interesting story in his time. There was one father who knocked the door, and the 7-year-old boy opened it and is asking him, who are you? Because when this fellow was like the first 7 years, the father would go early morning, Bombay life, he would go early morning to catch his train, and he would come back late in the night. So when you would go early, the son is sleeping, and when you would come back in the night, son is sleeping. After 7 years, the son got to see the father. So Prabhupada says this is Kali Yuga, everyone is far away, no one is close to you. So practically people are unhappy. Text 20. Pader nyunam shochasi maekapadam Atmanam va vrishaler bokshamanam Aho suradim hrita bhaga Praja utasvin magavati avarshati. My dear earth, I am standing on one leg, I have lost my 3 legs. Are you lamenting for my state, seeing that now I am only on one leg? Or are you lamenting that very soon Kali Yuga is going to start and unlawful people will be eating your meat? Are you lamenting, thinking about that? Or are you lamenting that demigods are not getting their share of sacrifice? Aho suradin rita yagya bhagan. Because in Kali Yuga no one does any yagya, no one is bothered about religion. Are you lamenting for that? Or praja utasvin magavati avarshati. Or are you lamenting that living beings, your praja, people who are born in you, are going to suffer from famine and drought? And Prabhupada mentions again, these are the characteristics of Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga coming in, right? Dharma is standing on one leg. People will eat cow meat in abundance, shamelessly, basically. Right? That's not what goes on in Kali Yuga. Very proudly people eat this. And no one is interested in any kind of dharma. No one is interested in any kind of sacrifice. And Prabhupada mentions that in Kali Yuga, the sacrifice that is recommended by Mahaprabhu himself is Krishna, himself is Sankirtan Yajna. But people are not interested in this. And people in Kali Yuga will be suffering famine and droughts. And we are seeing all these things come. This is a story 5,000 years ago. Just see how relevant it is in 2026. The messages are so very crystal clear. Text 21. Arakshamana striya urvibala Sochasi ato purashade ivartan Vacham devim brahmakule ukarmani Brahmanye rajakule kulagriha. Oh my dear earth, are you feeling unhappy that in future striya bala arakshamana, are you lamenting that in future women and children will not be protected. And we are seeing that also in Kali Yuga. Complete exploitation of children and women that's going on. Or are you lamenting that Vacham Devim Brahma Kule Kukarmani? Or are you lamenting that people in Kali Yuga, especially the Brahmanas who are supposed to be educators, they are going to follow a sinful life. Brahmana is supposed to have a pure life, they are going to follow a sinful life. So Prabhupada mentions here, previously education means good character. Prabhupada mentions in Kali Yuga, education and bad character will go together. You will say you are an educated guy, but you have all bad characters. And it's okay in Kali Yuga. So are you lamenting for that? Or are you lamenting that Brahmanas who are not supposed to serve anyone? Prabhupada mentions Brahmanas don't take jobs, they don't take salaries. Are you lamenting that in Kali Yuga such Brahmanas will accept service from kings who are useless or so sinful, they will accept a salary only because they need money? Are you lamenting for the state of Kali Yuga? And we are seeing exactly these are symptoms of the age of Kali which are harmful to the general welfare of human society. Prabhupada is mentioning here. These are the symptoms that are slowly coming in. Brahmanas corrupted, Kshatriyas corrupted. We will see when Kali Yuga enters, actually the main entry of Kali Yuga starts through a Brahmana only. Right? Shringi, the Brahmana curses Parikshit. So Prabhupada mentions when the Brahmanas are corrupted, then everything gets corrupted in the system. Text 22. Kim Shatra Bandhur Kalino Parashtran Rashtrani Vater Avaropatani Itastato Vashana Panavasa Snana Vyayon Mukha Jivalokam. Are you lamenting that the so-called administrators of Kali Yuga will put everything in disorder? Kings are supposed to put everything in order, but you will find the rulers in Kali Yuga putting everything in disorder. We don't need examples for it. We are seeing a number of examples already happening in Kali Yuga. Are you lamenting that disorder? Or are you lamenting that people in general will not follow any rules and regulations for eating, sleeping, mating, defending, and they'll be doing it anywhere, everywhere? Are you lamenting for this? So Prabhupada mentions here in the purport. So Prabhupada mentions that we know in Srimad Bhagavatam, the cantos ahead, the story of Ajamil comes. Right? The story of Ajamil is like an innocent Brahmana boy. He goes out on the road and he sees a Shudra and a lady, a prostitute, embracing each other. And this boy becomes a victim of that debauchery. And Prabhupada mentioned in those days there was one victim. In Kali Yuga there are victims everywhere. Victims of these scenes everywhere. So practically there is corruption. Everyone's intelligence is completely lost. So the influence of Kali Yuga, Prabhupada is mentioning, is everywhere. Politically, socially, religiously, everything is tainted with the symptoms of Kali. Text 23. Yadvambate buri baravatara Kritavataras Kritavatarasya Hare Dharitri Antarhitasya Smarati Visrishta Karmani Nirvana Vilambitani. Oh my dear earth, Krishna, who advented in this world, Bhuri Bhara Vathara. Why did Lord Krishna come? One of the reasons was to reduce the burden of the earth. We all know Krishna Leela. Before Krishna's avatar, Brahmaji, Earth, Dharti, they all go to Shir Sagar and they pray to the Lord, please come. There's a lot of weight in the earth of Asuric forces. So Lord Krishna comes to reduce that burden. So, Dharma is asking that Krishna is no longer present now. Are you thinking of Krishna's activities and feeling sorry for Krishna's absence? Are you feeling separation from Krishna? So here the word used is Nirvana Vilambitani. So Nirvana basically means liberation. So Krishna Katha we saw is the only way to liberation. But Prabhupada mentioned something very interesting. The word nirvana vilimbitani means what? That which minimizes liberation. That means the pleasure derived by hearing about Krishna, bhakti to Krishna, makes even the pleasure of liberation low. That means the pleasure of bhakti is much higher than the pleasure of liberation also. In this way, Dharma is basically asking Dharti that, are you lamenting Krishna's absence? Text 24. Idam mama chakshva tavadi moolam vasundare yena vikarshitasi kalena vate balinam bali yasha sakatitam kim vritam ambaso bhagam. So Dharma calls Dharti Vasundare. You have heard this word? Dharti is called Vasundhara. What does Vasundhara mean? She is the reservoir of all riches. Practically all riches come from the earth. Gold, everything comes from the earth only, right? Pearls. So she is called Vasundhara. So they say, Dharma is saying, please tell me, Tavati Moolam, what is the root cause of your tribulation? Why you are so sorry? Why you are so sad? And they say, I think it is because of time. Kalena vate balinam bali yasha. What does time do? Time takes away the wealth of the most powerful. So in this way, Dharma is saying, you are Vasundhara, you are so beautiful, you have so much wealth, but I think you have lost all your fortune because Krishna has left you and gone. That's what Dharma's conclusion is. Now, there are 10 more verses to go. With your permission, can we complete this chapter? Just try to do this quickly. So now, these are the questions of Dharma. Now, Dharani, earth is answering these questions. Text 25. Dharani uvacha Bhavani Veda Tatsarvam Yamam Dharmanu Prachasi Chaturbir Vartase Yena Ade Loka Sukavahe. So the earth says, O Dharma, whatever you have inquired, I will answer all your questions, don't worry. But she says, you too were happy with 4 legs. What has happened to you? You are also standing in 1 leg. So here we are seeing Dharma, the bull, is concerned more about Dharti than himself. And Dharti is more concerned about Dharma than herself. This is how, there's a beautiful reciprocation where each feels for the concern of the other, even though they are suffering in this world. So Prabhupada mentions in the purport that happiness basically depends on following the principles of Dharma, right? And Prabhupada says, happiness in the world depends proportionately on maintenance of religious principles individually and collectively. Thus, one can be happy in this span of life and enter into the spiritual world. So one has to follow the principles of Dharma. And in the next few verses, 26 to 30, it's a series of verses. We just repeat these verses and then I'll explain the meaning. Satyam Shocham Daya Shanti Tyaga Santoshta Arjavam Shamodamastapa Samyam Titiksho Parati Shrutam Jnanam Viraktim Aishwaryam Shauryam Tejo Balam Smriti Swatantriyam Kaushalam Kanti Dhairyam Mardamam Evacha Prakhalbyam Parshayashilam Saha Ojo Balam Bhaga Gambhiryam Stairyam Astikyam Kirtirmano Nahankriti Eti Changi Cha Bhagavan Nityayatra Mahaguna Prarthaya Mahatvam Ichchadbhi Na Vinayanti Sma Karhichit Tenaham Gunapatrena Srinivasena Sampratam Shochami Rahitam Lokam mentions in the previous purport, we are speaking about dharma. What is dharma? Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Krishna is the personification of dharma. So wherever Krishna is, all good qualities are there in that place. So here she says, in Krishna, in that Supreme Lord, reside all these qualities. So Prabhupada mentions in the purport, how many qualities Krishna has? Anyone knows? 64, but that's just few. Prabhupada mentions Krishna has unlimited qualities. So Prabhupada mentions here that even if you smash atoms into powder, it will be difficult to calculate the qualities of Krishna. Ananta Shesh, you know Ananta Shesh? The form of the Lord Balaramji. With his Ananta Mukha, with his Ananta mouth, he is glorifying Krishna's qualities for Ananta time. Still there is no end to it. So Krishna's qualities are unlimited. You can't estimate, there is no end to it. Still, here Dharini is listing out some of the main qualities of Krishna. She says truthfulness. In Krishna, what all reside? Truthfulness, cleanliness, intolerance to another's happiness, power to control anger, self-satisfaction, straightforwardness, steadiness of mind, control of sense organs, responsibility, equality, tolerance, equanimity, faithfulness, knowledge, vairagya, absence of sense gratification, leadership, chivalry, influence, power to make everything possible, discharge of proper duty, complete independence, dexterity, beauty, serenity, kind-heartedness, ingenuity, gentility, magnanimity, determination, perfection of all knowledge, proper execution, joyfulness, sthairiam, fame, worship, pridelessness. Even though Krishna has all this, still he is prideless. And he is the Supreme Person of Godhead eternally. And Dharti says all these qualities are eternally present in Krishna. And who is this Krishna? She says, Tatraham Gunapatrena. Krishna is the abode of Patra of all good qualities. And then Shri Nivasena Sampratam. And in Krishna's chest resides Lakshmi ji. And she says here, now that Krishna who was walking on my body on earth, that Krishna is no longer there. And in the absence of Krishna, I can see the influence of Kali Yuga taking over this entire world. In this way, Dharti, she is feeling a lot of separation from Lord Krishna. Text 31. Atmanam chanushochami bhavantam chamurottamam devan pitrin rishin sadun sarvan varnam statashraman. So Dharti, she is saying, I am lamenting about myself, my condition. I am lamenting about you, Dharma, your condition. I am lamenting the state of the demigods, the sages, the residents of Pitraloka, and all men in general in the age of Kali. So, in the age of Kali, basically, it's an age where you have to lament about everyone's situation, because everyone is going through their own struggle. In the next two shlokas, she explains here. Text 32. 32 and 33 basically. Okay, let's read 32. Brahmadayo bahutitam yad apanga moksha kamastapa samacharam bhagavat prapanna sa shri svasam aravinda vanam vihaya yad sobhagam alam bhajate anurukta. So she says, Lakshmi, for whose grace Brahmadayo bhutitam yad apanga moksha, to get one grace of Lakshmi, one glance of Lakshmi, all the devatas headed by Brahma are performing austerity for a very long time. That means to get the grace of Lakshmi is not very easy. And this Lakshmi, to get her glance, which is so difficult, what she has done? She has left her abode, Sa Shri Swavasam Aravinda Vanam Vihaya. She has left her abode of lotus flowers, the forest of lotus flowers. And what she is doing? Yat Pada Sobhagam Alam Vajati Anurukta. And that Lakshmi, what she is doing? She is worshipping the feet of Krishna with great attachment. And this Dharti here, she is saying that feet of Krishna, if to get the grace of Lakshmi is so difficult, how difficult it is to get the dust of Krishna's feet. Lakshmi is also desperate for it. But Dharti is saying, I was so fortunate. That feet of Krishna, Krishna was walking on me. And now Krishna is no longer there in my life. Text 34. Yeah, actually, text 33, I'm sorry. Yeah. Tasyaham abja कुलिशांकुश केतुकेते श्रीमद् पादेर भगवत समलकृतांगी त्रिनद्योरोच उपलभ्य ततो विभूतिम लोकान् समां विसृजत usmayatim tadante. Basically, it's a continuation of the previous verse. So basically, she says that feet of Krishna, the lotus feet of Krishna, there are marks in the lotus feet of Krishna. There's a mark of a thunderbolt, flag, lotus in the feet of Krishna. Those are the impressions. So Krishna with that lotus feet was walking on me and making me so fortunate. Right? When Krishna was there in this planet, even the demigods, generally Swarga is glorified, but even the demigods would worship earth because Krishna was walking here. Krishna hardly went to Swarga. We saw in one of the previous chapters. Krishna hardly would go to Swarga, but Krishna would walk on this earth. So, this earth who was so fortunate, now she is feeling separation from Lord Krishna. Text 34. Yo vai mamati bharan asura vamsharagyam Akshoni shatam apanudat atmatantra Vamdustam unapadam atmani paurushena Sampadayan yadushuramyam habibrat angam. So she says, Krishna when he was there, Krishna destroyed Asura Vamsha Ragyam. Lord Krishna destroyed all the Asuric dynasties because Lord Krishna wanted to relieve the earth of her distress. And then she says, Dharma, when Lord Krishna was here, you were also very, very happy. And now that Lord Krishna has left you and me and left to the spiritual world. Text 35. Kava saheta viraham purushottamasya Premavaloka ruchira smikta valgujalpe Steryam samanam aharan madhumanina Nomatsavo mamayat angri vitankitaya. So she's questioning Kava saheta viraham purushottamasya. Having got that association of Krishna, who can tolerate separation from him? And Lord Krishna is glorified like this. She says that Lord Krishna, through his love, through his pleasing glances, through his smiles, Lord Krishna conquered the hearts of so many ladies, so many of his wives like Satya Brahma. And then Dharti says, when Lord Krishna was walking on my body, I would feel so much ecstasy that there will be a lot of grass everywhere. That is the ecstasy of the earth. So in this way, she is feeling a lot of separation from Lord Krishna. And the last verse of this particular chapter. Tayor evam katayota prithvi dharmo yastada parikshin nama rajarshi prapta prachim saraswatim. So while earth and dharma were conversing like this, Parikshit reached at that spot. And the next chapter is Parikshit's discussion with Dharti and Dharma and how Parikshit responds to the age of Dharma. So this is the summary of this particular chapter, 36 verses. The first few verses explain how Parikshit as an ideal ruler got married and how he decides to subdue Kali. And then Shaunak Rishi, they are asking questions. And we saw in those questions also they are glorifying that wherever there is Krishna Katha, Hari Katha Amritam, there can be no fear of death. And then Sudha Goswami begins to explain when Parikshit was conquering the entire world, hearing the glorification of the Pandavas, hearing the glorification of Krishna, hearing all these good news, he comes across Dharma and Dharani's conversation, which we saw in this beautiful way the symptoms of Kali Yuga being explained. Thank you very much. Thank you for being so patient. So next week we will continue chapter 17. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
One question.
Yes.
Parikshit Maharaj was fully a dharmi person, very pious in all the aspects. Why he was punished then?
Why he was punished? Yes. Wait for the answer. The next few chapters.
धर्म को पालन करता है उसका सब कुछ अच्छा होता है. Like that we speak.
अच्छा ही होना. So the point is, that's what we will see.
But is